Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at such an interesting symposium on a subject that's very dear to my heart. The digital age and digital fabrication, in particular, have opened an Aladdin's cave of opportunity for so many people who've been excluded from the design process for so long. Today I want to talk about some of those new opportunities for them and for designers. Prior to joining the Kyoto Design Lab at the Kyoto Institute of Technology 2 years ago, I was at the Helen Hamlin Centre for Design at the Royal College of Art in London. I ran a program called the Challenge Workshops that brought together designers and disabled people and other marginalized groups internationally in a co-design process of mutual benefit to both. It enabled designers to design better and excluded groups to be part of the design process from inception to finish. It was based on a very simple principle that if you work with the extreme scenarios of use, innovation generally follows. And this is particularly important at the fuzzy front end of the design process where ideas are being generated. It's also an idea borne out by design history. These splints by Charles and Ray Eames, commissioned by the US Navy to replace the unwieldy steel splints available, innovated on different levels. Unlike the steel splints, they were light, comfortable, stackable, fit any size of leg, and used no metal, a precious resource in wartime. They also used the bent plywood technology that Alvar Aalto had pioneered in Finland with furniture to great effect. In May 2014, I was invited to help set up the Kyoto Design Lab at the Kyoto Institute of Technology, which has 3 major themes in design: designing social interactions, making and materials, and critical curation and interpretation, because we have a KIT museum and archives. I've also set up 3 different programs: an open workshop program. This month we have one on Oribotics with Ars Electronica, and from March 22nd to 24th, Sam Hecht will be leading one on making. The workshops are open to all, so check out our website for information. We also have a design associate program in which designers are invited to work with KIT faculty and bring design to areas where it's not normally considered: textile engineering, materials science, applied biology, and so on. The third is a designer in residence program in which established young designers spend a period working, developing work. We're also very lucky to have an exhibition space in Arts Chiyoda Sansan-Sanichi, where we show the results of our projects. But one of the most important aspects of the Kyoto Design Lab is that we have a wonderful digital fabrication space run by Tomohiro Inoue, many of whom you will know. And we also have full wood, metal, paper, and ceramic workshop facilities run by Shin Yamashita. This is a scene from a workshop we ran with Kingston University in the UK on thinking through making in November. Thinking through making is the theme that underpins the work of the design school at Kingston. I wanted to explain briefly what has happened in design education and activity in the UK in the past 20 years. The past 20 years have seen great changes in design schools in the UK. Workshops of this type have been dismantled. Machinery such as letterpress and conventional machinery have been replaced and design education has been digitized, with computer terminals replacing traditional equipment. So it has become about visualization, not fabrication. And it's bred a generation of designers who can do CAD but cannot make and do not understand materials behavior. Kingston has been the exception. Design education, like anything else, is cyclical, and 3D printing and the laser cutter have been responsible for bringing back an interest and confidence in making in designers, particularly in the UK, where our manufacturing base has fled to China. This was a show at the Victoria and Albert Museum in 2011, which celebrated in 100 objects of widely different types of manufacture the role of making in our lives. It was curated by my friend and former colleague at the RCA, Daniel Charney. He's been at the forefront of the new maker movement in the UK. He set up Fixperts, which encourages designers to work with those who could do with a little design help and to make movies of the process. He's also been behind the Maker Library movement, the creation of spaces which combine the functions of a library, a maker space, and a gallery that are run by a resident maker designer. It's an interesting evolution of the idea of a library, many of which in the UK are being closed down due to the shift from books to digital media. Another aspect is Makerversity. This is Somerset House, which used to house records of all the births, marriages, and deaths in the UK. It's now a retail space above ground. Below ground, however, is a maker space called Makerversity that's run as a social business. It provides much needed affordable hot desking and fabrication facilities in central London for emerging designers and others. And it's part of the changed landscape of design. In 1923, when Gerrit Rietveld designed this chair, the role of the designer and the maker and their relationship was clear. The designer designed, the maker made. But this was before the digital age, which brought about a new, complex design environment, and no more so than in the field of healthcare, where poor or faulty design can have fatal consequences. Human beings make mistakes because the systems, tasks, and processes they work in are poorly designed, said Professor Lucian Leap. And it's one of the reasons why inclusive design is so important. And as a result, the design process itself has had to be redesigned. The conventional design process can be likened to a relay race. Like this photo, and it can also, like this photo of a relay race, or it can be also likened to a game of Chinese whispers. It only needs one faulty link in the chain for the whole process to be derailed. In contrast, the inclusive design process can be likened to a boat race, where everyone is in the same boat at the same time, and information is shared even though one discipline may take the lead at different times. It's about sharing skills and collaboration. And as a result, the role of the designer has changed from being sole creator to one who is a collaborative worker, who can mediate across disciplines, who can synthesize and visualize ideas and information for sharing, who can bring together form and function, and who has digital and making skills. And these are crucial skills because the social environment of design has changed. In January, I was in a small town in Croatia called Požega, leading a project funded by the European Union and organized by the British Council. This scene is idyllic, but the town has extremely high rates of unemployment, particularly among young people. So the aim of this project was to harness the existing skills base in the town and create a family of products with a Posega-specific identity that could be made locally and could provide skills training and income for not only the young people, but also for this non-profit working with young people with learning disabilities. So we put together 4 teams of 20 designers from 8 countries. We used the facilities and worked with the staff and students at the local vocational school. We set up a drawing studio at the non-profit to generate graphic material using their wonderful drawings, such as this one of a duck, created pattern vectors to be used in printed textiles and graphic goods. We used the handwriting of one of the beneficiaries to create a new font and the project identity, and a range of graphic and printed textile goods as well as constructed textiles. We were offered a pile of oak offcuts from the local furniture factory, which led to a product range made from them and based on the design question, how many things can you do with a stick? The drawing vectors became stencils, and a range of wooden products were created. Wooden chests, small boxes, a breadboard, puzzles, and then we held an exhibition at the end of 7 days. But apart from the laser cutting and the graphic goods, most of this centered on physical fabrication. However, the project indicates how creating communal maker spaces and communal opportunities can bring together and develop the skills of the community in this way, if the process is inclusive and design-led. So inclusive design, I should explain what it is it's about acknowledging diversity and difference. These are my siblings' feet. We all have different feet, but the same parents. It's also about understanding that design exclusion can take different forms. In this photo I took in Dublin, I can count 4 types of design exclusion. The Roma woman begging suffers from economic and linguistic exclusion. The woman in the pink jacket has restricted growth and cannot reach the ATM. So she is suffering from physical and service exclusion. So if we are to design inclusively, we will have to understand first how people are excluded. Now, while disability and UD legislation has ensured that environments and services are covered by legislation, it does not cover products. And information systems, which are covered, can be rendered illegible just because of the context in which they are located. Here's an example of one product where they got it wrong. The actual interface is the button above, but because the dispensing part of the coffee machine was rounded like a large button too, people intuitively thought that this is what you pushed. Here's another one in 7-Eleven. Okay. I collect, as you probably, images of coffee machines. And then the other problem is that of packaging. We have products like this, which has led to wrap rage, I think it's called. Poor packaging is responsible for 70,000 injuries requiring hospital treatment annually in the UK. Or products like this where regulations cover the information, but not the physical design of the container, which may be similarly difficult to use if you have arthritis. So the first gift that digital fabrication has brought to inclusive design is that it enables customization at source. People have always customized the things that don't work for them, like this Israeli guy who's created an electric bike. But the area where the ability to customize is absolutely vital is that of disability, like these amputee soldiers from the First World War who were forced to create wheelchairs from chairs. And the trouble is that this takes place within the medical model of design, which brings with it stigma. You don't have to go very far to find hideous examples of disability aids and equipment that stigmatize and accentuate the negative, instead of things that exist within the social model of design, which are both functional and aesthetically pleasing. Disabled people tend to divide aids and equipment into two clear categories: functional extensions and intimate extensions. Intimate extensions can be prostheses. These are the oldest prostheses I found, dating back 1,000 years to 1000 BC. And interestingly, in this world where there's no functional requirement, such as in these glass eyes, they can be quite beautiful. The aesthetic needs of the wearer have been carefully considered, since they're intimately connected with the wearer's sense of personhood. This is my favorite prosthesis that dates back to 1902, which was made by Mr. Royden for his client, a female pianist who gave a recital using it at the Royal Albert Hall in London in 1904. The fingers are specially foreshortened so that she could span an octave, and the hand was articulated at the wrist. It was a result of close collaboration between maker and user. Compare it to this one from the 1920s, and you can see the imbalance between function and aesthetics, where customization became unaffordable for many. These legs cost 3.3 million yen per pair. Aesthetics now come at a price. This is what many people get. So another big benefit of digital fabrication is that it allows not only customization at source, but also affordability, like the dexterous hand that costs less than 100,000 yen. This in turn enables co-design. This is Danielle at a workshop I did at Fab Lab Israel, who is drawing the shape of the desired splint that she needs for her shoes to keep her foot and leg at right angles. These are her usual ugly, customized splints. So the design team, which was multidisciplinary, created a modular shoe production system that would allow her to design her own shoe splint combination using scanning, 3D printing, and assembly. But it also has mainstream service possibilities. Daniel's idea was just the start. What is required to bring a product to market is the ability to do low-cost, iterative prototyping, which digital fabrication allows in contrast to conventional methods. This is a hackathon I ran 2 years ago in Sheffield, where patients, designers, design engineers, and healthcare workers got together to deconstruct and redesign 3 pieces of equipment that they universally loathed. There was a hoist, a sip straw cup, and a walker, like this hoist. And this is the sip straw cup, which this throat cancer survivor hated because it was stigmatizing and difficult to use. So the team came up with the idea of powering the lid of the cup, and it's now undergoing R&D to bring it to market. The hackathon was instrumental in coming up with the idea, but it's the iterative prototyping and testing that will make it market ready. The other big gift of digital fabrication is that it enables new ways of approaching problems and working with materials. This is fiber reinforced plastic, or FRP, created by embedding chirimen in resin. It's very strong, but it's completely killed all of the beautiful qualities of chirimen, or silk crepe, as a fabric. And it became part of a recent Kyoto Design Lab Design Associate project. On the right is Michelle Baggerman, a designer from the Design Academy Eindhoven. Next to her is Professor Teruo Kimura of KIT's Center for Advanced Fibroscience. And next to him is Masaki Ebara, a weaver from the Tango Peninsula. Ebara-san produces Japan's finest 14 denier silk, but had no product applications for it beyond stoles, wearables. The question was, how could you create FRP without killing the beautiful qualities of the silk? So working with Inoue-san from our digital fabrication lab, Michelle reversed the principle of conventional FRP by 3D printing PLA structures that you can see in the upper part of the picture here. These could be sandwiched between two layers of silk and heat pressed to create freestanding structures that open up new avenues for product applications, as in these lamps. And similarly, Julia Lohman was our designer in residence last month. She works with seaweed, and she combined, for this residency, kombu with bamboo, which she's not attempted before. So the kombu was laser cut, and then it was stretched between bamboo frames, and it will, in time, lose its smell, thank goodness, and also its color, because the chlorophyll disappears, and it will become a strong, transparent skin. But it's materials innovation with new product applications. Now, in the past, I've worked with museums' collections to make them accessible cognitively to visually impaired people. And one thing that fascinated me then and now is how we can share information that comes from a different sensory perspective. There have been attempts by artists to do this and simulate sight loss, like these two works by Sugiura Takao, which were created for an exhibition at the Hyogo Prefectural Art Museum. This was a sea of styrofoam beads in which sculptures were buried, and you had to wade through them to find the sculptures. But I realized when I saw this exhibition at the V&A in London by our RCA sculpture students that digital fabrication really offered a great opportunity to share multimodal information. The students had chosen what are called uncertain objects from the V&A permanent collection. In other words, objects whose provenance is not clear. This 17th century head of the Virgin was digitally captured using 3D scanning, reformed and reimagined by RCA sculpture student Dexter Dymoke, and then he 3D printed it. Now this is a wonderful work by my friend Takayuki Mitsushima, who's been blind since the age of 10. And I asked him to take a small grid in Kyoto and to create a visual work based on his sound impressions of that area. Unusually, he works in 2D, and he did this. But it occurred to me that due to advances in haptic technology, he could share his highly developed sense of touch with someone whose main information was visual, and they could create a collaborative work that brought together these two aspects of touch and vision. It's just speculation, but I feel that digital fabrication has enabled these new conceptual ways of information sharing to become a reality, and it's a great new place to be in. That's the end of my speech. I have a very short video which I will show you part of for the remaining 4 minutes of my speech, allotted time. So, and this is another project from the Design Associate, which I will, where I brought together a designer and our professor of applied biology.
Working with the scientists is very interesting because it requires a change of mindset, because normally as a designer you're hired to prettify things, to make things looking nicer or selling better. And I think the challenge as a designer coming into any type of research is to try and find what the questions are behind the issue. And to do that you have to almost become a scientist in the first few weeks and learn as much as you can about a specific disease or problem or research.
CMT の研究で一番問題というか治療薬がまだないということなんですよね。で CMT の原因遺伝子がやっぱり80個あるいは100個ぐらいあると言われてて、で普通はみんなマウスで病気のモデルを作って研究するんですけども、80個や100個の原因遺伝子で全部マウスでモデルを作るっていうのがやっぱりすごくもうお金がかかりすぎるんですよね。で症状外だとそれを作っていけると。セントの遺伝子が人と症状外で同じなんですよね。だからそういうことでこう症状外を使っていっています。
I wanted to ask the question, like, what if a patient can have a more important role in this scientific research and be integrated in a process like this? And I think this is a very interesting challenge as a designer, because you have to realize, well, part of what the science is intending, but you also have to think about the psychological element. Then there's a USB cable. This would be normal software. in types of diseases that they know are marketable because there are lots of people that have this disease, or there's a lot of empathy for a typical type of disease. Now, when you deal with obscure type diseases like CMT, because there's not so many people that are suffering from this, and it's not widely known, so there's no big sort of marketable impact, it becomes complicated for a company, and it's very easy to ignore. This is because of this risk. So what I tried to address was by taking away some of this risk from a pharmaceutical company, well, supply a patient with an unfinished product rather than a finished one. It means that they have a viable business model because they can simply sell an unfinished product, which is low risk and high reward. Whereas the patient is rewarded because they have an interest in coming up with this new medicine. And they actually have a say, well, in the business opportunities that these companies will venture in, I guess.
初めて来た時はちょっと場違なところに放り込まれたかなっていうイメージがあって、今日来て初めて見たんですけど、すごいなって手作りで作ってあるんやなっていうのを見て、やっぱりデザイナーがすごいんやと。
すごく初めて見た時は画期的だなと思いました。で、ハエってって思うんだけど、だけどちゃんとじーっと見ないとわからなかったりとか、でもここに価値を見出すために多分少し時間がかかるんだろうと思うんです。で、それが少しでも、少しずつでも何かこれが効いてるんじゃないかなとか、そういう効果とかそういうのが少しずつでも分かってくればとか、あとそのやっている人同士でその情報を共有できるとかっていうことがあれば、多分もっともっと広がっていくんじゃないかなっていうのは思います。
例えば少女会とかこう寝たりもするんですけども、不眠症の少女会とか、あと、自閉症の少女会もあるんですよね。で、そういうまだ他に解決されてないようないろんな、複雑な病気、これモニタリングしてその治療薬のスクリーニングとかにもこれ十分使っていけるような機会になりますよね。
A designer is normally only brought into the process on a very late stage, and it's usually when the project is almost finished and everything is functioning, and you're brought in to design a case. Whereas in this instance, I was allowed to actually explore different strategies at the very beginning of a project, even before the science is fully finished. But the risk is always that there has to be a type of openness. So sometimes people can be too afraid for risky ideas, and I think what was really good about this collaboration is that everyone had the same interests, but everyone let everyone else do what they were good at. And in the end, I think we came up with a really interesting concept because of that.
So thank you very much.
ジュリア先生ありがとうございました。それでは
Thank you. Let's continue. And from COI, we have another presenter. Dr. Eto, please. Hi, I am Eto from AIST. So I'm following Ms. Kashim to talk about inclusive design and co-creation. So first of all, in launching this project, to tell you the truth, we were affected greatly positively by Ms. Kashim's inclusive design because there was a book that we referred to and her remarks were there. The research on the washlet was for medical purposes originally, but innovation had occurred as a result of the general application. So initially it was targeted at a very limited audience from the medical point of view, but it had widened to a wider application in the society. So this is inclusive design, what it can do. It can trigger innovation, and it was a remark made by Dr. Kansei. So we were stimulated by that to launch our own project. That's how I remember. So from the peripheral area, innovation can take place. It's not only a matter of a corporate or the research laboratory where innovation can be born. Reverse innovation, user innovation are the examples, and the Professor Hippel talked to us about the user innovation last year, and we've been working on this concept for a while, and we would like to pursue it as a co-creation type innovation, which I would like to review today. So to start with, for this project, this was the competitive platform. There is a physical venue out there as well as a virtual site on the web. So it had a combination of the two. Like CD printers can be used for the studio, and on the website Nico Nico video was used, and the collaboration can take place on the web. So these are the approaches that we had taken, and out of which particularly I have taken the lead in this particular area. Nico Nico Society Beta, this is a research group, characteristics of which is it's not only a venue for the academic-oriented professional researchers, but general users are also involved who goes and look at the site. And I have become the sponsor of leader of this project, and came up with this idea to have a larger involvement. So it started back in 2011, and this is a 5-year program. And last year in December, last phase was held. So today I would like to speak to you about the citizens' involvement, the citizens becoming originator of research and development. Particularly I would like to focus on the inclusive design. So we mainly hold a symposia where people can get together and speak out to their research results and findings. But during the symposium, we may also organize workshops, subcommittee meetings, and make some publications. This is one of the presentations made at the workshops. This is a wild researchers. 3 minutes will be given to each of the speaker for the presentation. The themes can be anything. For example, like bipedal robots, or make an opaque screen. It can be user interface or the robots, and many findings can be presented. So going away from symposium, let me talk about subcommittee meetings. This is based on the athletics. To make a certain new sports events together with the researchers, professional researchers, and the citizens. This is a 6th symposium picture talking about future athletic events. What would be the future of athletic events? And many ideas have been collected. athletic events in future, which will be totally different from what we are familiar with today. Many of the technologies will be used, and who will be the organizer of the future athletic events and will be involved, and many ideas have been shared. And various different exercises had followed. The citizens' involvement is very important here. Lay citizens can participate, can take part. This is a bubble soccer, which is in fashion nowadays. So you wear the bubble like this and play a new soccer, football. There are many other ways to play with a bubble, and you can even create your own sporting events and set a new rules for the new game. So whole day has been spent, and 10 times or 20 times ideas will be born, and some people will like it and come up with further ideas for the possible rules and so forth, and pick the best one and try to delve into that further. What is important here is that the players have a wide range. This is a blind soccer. The persons with a visual disability can also take part. So Laila Kasim is the daughter of Lydia, who is wheelchair bound, but she can play with non-disabled persons and play as a pair in this game. So in this way, new sets of rules can be devised one after another, and not only us, but we have a super sportsman committee, which was another committee which was formed, which is complementary to the previous group which worked on the new athletic events. So all the people have gotten together to devise a new athletic events for future. It runs for 1 year, and at the end of 2014, at the symposium, findings were shared by a presentation, and the important point was the inclusive design concept, where new athletic events can be devised. And one more time, the hackathon was also held to pursue further the theme of new athletic events and games. One of the important findings was that there was a contractor who is specialized in providing services for holding athletic events within a given company, and this is a service providing company doing it for a fee as a profit, and these people have gotten together to pursue a further idea, which was pretty interesting. And in December last year, in Yamaguchi Prefecture in Waikam, this is a center, the sports hackathon was held, where many games have been devised, which was pretty big in scale. It ran for 2 days fully, and many people have gotten together to think about a new game. And this is the last day. On the second day, more than 100 citizens have gotten together, and on the spot, a newly devised game was played. So in various different ways, many athletic events ideas have been shared. And based on that experience, there are certain findings we have come to know. So this is a kind of a competition, and 3 times a big hackathon has been held. And we went back to the basics. Thus far, it has been thought kind of normal, ordinary to think about the new athletic game, but it has taken on the form of a hackathon, which was sort of a competitive thinking, and this was a very brand new thing. And there are certain things which didn't work as expected, which are not included here. It has taken too much time for preparation, devices needed were so troublesome and cumbersome, so it wouldn't work. And also, in setting the rules for these sports, of course, interesting to play game can be devised, but in order to make it into a full-fledged sports event, it takes more trouble coming up with precise rules and regulations, and that will make the work very difficult. And also, this is a competitive event which are being held, and it was thought that all the people who had taken part have said that it was so enjoyable, it's fun. So what is the competition to start with? We didn't know much about the competition and its essence, and the one remarks were so impressive. When we were children, we had very fun playing together. No rules set, but everyone got together at a park and devised a game and had a pretty much fun. So as a result of the competition, new rules can be devised, and on the spot, new game can be improvised. And maybe that goes to the heart of a competition. So at the Nico Nico Society for the past 5 years, we've been doing many things, and our work have been completed already, and I could recap the findings. So this is the last one, 9th meeting that we had. Arus Electronics Prize and Good Design Prize we have been given, and we made many publications as well. And on Asahi newspaper or Nikkei newspaper, many articles have been written about us. And what we are working on is this. As a part of a policy making for our science and technology policy, just January the 22nd, a new basic plan on the science and technology was published, and co-creating science and technology innovation has been included, and I was invited as one of the lecturers before coming up with this basic plan. And competitive S&T innovation concept was picked up by that publication. So it goes to show that what we had done through the Nico Nico Society was highly appreciated. So far we held 9 times a symposia, and more than 700,000 people have viewed our program. And this co-creative type of innovation was purported to be very important, the concept of co-creation. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Dr. Eto, thank you very much. Next is from Kansei Gakuin University, Dr. Nagata. Please.
Please. From Kansei Gakuin University, my name is Nagata. This is the title. Creating metrics for sensitivity values is one of the things we have been researching. About the values of sensitivity, how people want to. It's about how people feel excitement, and then from the good side, what kind of things do they give stimulation, and then this conversion, the design part. So we are looking at 3 aspects. We already talked about this before, but the first, in the trial, there are various metrics and we created. This is a foundation case. The sense of luxury. Some have luxurious, some are sort of noble, good taste. It's bright, but its intensity is low. The luxurious, its glossiness, texture values are high. So from the values, from the perception, and from the physical properties, you create the metrics by looking at these factors. There's another thing. This is the general 3D form, the values of form. Again, the metrics coming from such forms in 3D. Stable, not stable, the low profile, and hard and soft. using 3 axes, about the values of form can be expressed. Again, we created these metrics. Starting from this year, we are now escalated to COI, but the individual differences, how they can be expressed, this is what we did. These are metrics, so it's so minute, and sorry about this, but from average ones to non-average ones, people are not just average. Some people move from these average areas. Oh, I can't move it anyway. So there are people are biased, the deviation from the average and sensitivity. Again, we put them as individual data and then did some analysis. At ground front, this is in Osaka. For general citizens, this event was conducted. We did some demonstration. This is an experiment. At the center, that's their standard form, and we ask people to describe what things are. And then first, we sort of obtain that the individual's proclivity of their sensitivity, and the following day, since at the ground front, if we will ask, if you were to create the object befitting ground front, please describe the design that you think that is most befitting. So from there, the system comes up with recommendations. On the bottom, you can see 4. And these 4 are recommended. The right-hand side, those 2 things on the right, those are average objects. Left-hand side, those 2 in the left, since we already measured the proclivity of that individual's the sensitivity, again, on the left-hand side, that result is reflected. So we will ask the individuals which one represents what you had in your mind. And the red, the sample was about 200 persons. The average person can be sort of set aside, but non-average persons, there are 69. And which ones did they choose 69? Those recommended incorporating their proclivity beforehand, that was 80%, which means that the expression of the individual proclivity in terms of their sensitivity, our system was quite robust. As was in the last month at Kansei Gakuin University, we had this Dr. Sumika, a visionary leader, coming over, and we asked him to participate in this, and we were successful in coming up with his proclivity in sensitivity. And then, so the general 3D, using this, we assume a certain sensitivity proclivity, but with other forms, will it still hold true? So this is what we are working, and these are just preliminary results. Researchers have been working very hard. So let me explain. We had this kind of the sensitivity proclivity of 11 persons from this experiment. On the same persons, when they look at the bottle design, this is gaudy or low profile, and based from those comments, again, we came up with this evaluation space on the right-hand side. Looking at that, completely there is an agreement. 0.978. So this is almost equivalent to 1. So this is almost identical, which means that looking at these two, the spaces, we were able to get the same evaluation axis. Sorry about this minutia. Getting into more detail, other persons, when they evaluate, again, the sensitivity proclivity was exactly the same. So this is our hypothesis at the moment. Using the same set of adjectives, creating that space, even amongst different people, even amongst different targets, we can still come up with the same result. We are still doing the individual analysis. On the other hand, these are on the good side, not the people. This is more sensitivity reflecting 3D feature amount design. There are different kinds of feature amount. There are different kinds. The gentle looking shape or gaudy looking shape to allow the direct explanation, the coming up with a certain feature amount. Again, Chukyo and Tokyo University, we are doing work. One, not the three, has been working out very fine, and we would like to tackle the remaining two things. So this is a 3D, three-dimensional feature amount. Once we can create this, what kind of things can we do? At Keio University, the Fab 3D. So this is 3D database. And from that database, you can pick unstable shape. If you could retrieve, for instance, unstable forms, you can use such search function, and you would become able to do those things. One way can define this feature amount. Next concerns the design processes from Kansei, the Art University. So this is building the value map using design. 300 people participated as respondents in the design values. There are 7 basic ones: the style and society, usability, and then high quality. In the 7 areas, 80 values are incorporated. So this is a value map. And then to materialize these values, various motives and clues, hints are gathered. And for design beginners, we present them, ask those design beginners to come up with some designs. In some case, on the second case, we do not show any of these things, and then ask them to come up with designs, and then compare the results. Meaning that even for the beginners, we can facilitate the design work. And this is one of the things we have so far elucidated through these researches. This is what we call a design portal. In the design portal, if you want to materialize certain values, the values map or related tips, hints, clues, motives will emerge, and using Keio University's database, or this is called Fable, the recipes for manufacturing. You could use various databases, and by using these different databases, you could do the actual design. In the phase 2, we would like to improve them further. Once these become available, centering on the design portal from various databases, by utilizing various databases, one could design a product, or by using them, manufacture and then see and understand. If you could go through that cycle again and again, and then you could create and accumulate resources here. Augmented sense of materials. Creating new materials is another thing that we have been doing. We call this quality sommelier, for instance. This, together with NALS, the cosmetics, in the COI, we have been doing this for a while. This pearl-like skin. This is a motive. Pearl-like skin. What kind of things do consumers want? In the simulation, do we elucidate them? Do we work on the logistics and then create this? In the spring, it's likely to be completed, and then it will become commercially available. Again, the values of the skin, and then you will link it to others. This is the tactile simulation with Professor Furukawa from Yamagata University. These are new samples for a gel, and we would like to again do them. And this is human sensing. Objectively measure people, various kinds of technology involved. Inclusive design was already presented. This research is on sensitivity. It's really on the same line with inclusive design. There are various kinds of people, variety of people. From them, they express each and individual's sensitivity. That's what we want to express. Thank you very much.
永田先生ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Ms. Nagata. Now let's move on and hear next from Ms. Arakawa from Meiji University. Ms. Arakawa. Hello, I am Arakawa from Meiji University. So, following Ms. Nagata, I would like to talk about inclusive design and the creative interaction. So, people have different preferences and characteristics. They are all different. So majority of the people, if you look at this picture, you say that this is a waveform. There are 4 of them, vertical one and horizontal one, 2 each. But some of the people would think that this is blank, according to the beholder. So characteristics are different. So if you are looking at the same thing, but a perception might be different from one person to another, and there are different preferences by people. Maybe people like something dark or bright. It all depends on the personal preferences and liking. So how will you make the things that people want on personal basis? This is what we are looking for in our research. Many things. What kind of feel would you like to have? What kind of quality you are looking for? Each person has a different preferences. How to meet each and individual preference is something we are now researching. What are the preferences? You might not know what is your exact preferences. You may not be able to describe it. So how can we naturally derive what people are looking for in terms of the preferences? So we are trying to naturally derive and elicit the personal preferences, and that is the work we do at the Meiji University. So one is the physical appearance and the field design. The first one is the innovative modeling method, and the functional design is to innovate the 3D formation method, printing method, and make quick the innovation of a development cycle. Now, this is a modeling method for the innovation. So there are many definitions one can give for the preferences. It's very hard. Maybe you like to have a tasteful hat. What does tasteful means for anyone? Maybe the perception is different from one person to another. What makes it graceful or tasteful? So if you just to say the word adjective tasteful or graceful, the meaning might be different from the beholder. So we can go interactive and do the computation so that naturally you will arrive at something that you like the best. And we are researching the methodology. This is it. This is the kind of AI that we are using and offer the samples that people might like, subject might like. But this is something which was devised by a computer, so we don't know whether it is really meeting the preference of the subject or not. Or maybe I like this, but this I do not like that much. And preference results can be fed back to the computer, and computer will recompute and so forth, and it goes on and on repeatedly. And at the end, maybe on the interactive basis, we can arrive at the exact thing that the subject will like best in light of their preferences. And we can go reverse. We can start from the picks made by the subject, then we can surmise, infer the preference, looking at the history of a choice. Maybe the person likes something soft or something tasteful and whatnot. So let's say this is the color and the shape that the subject will like. People like, this person likes a colorful thing. This is done by the Ms. Nagata's Kansei Gakuin Daigak's research results. So let's look at the necklace, which was demonstrated for you. There are so many designs available for necklaces, and this is a colorful necklace. Maybe we can sense that this subject must like this kind of necklaces out of many. So this is the color deficient person's view, and we can also have an interactive computation done, and this part will become more visible in the eyes of a color deficient person. So let's look at the design of the function, how to innovate creation of the form method. This is appearance, like this is a nice color, nice shape. But what about the function? Is it soft? It can be folded, and it can be output using the 3D printer. And this is another thing we are working on. The special ink is printed on the paper, conductive ink, and the most optimum design can be made for each individual. SXSW Innovation Award finalist, we made that list on the finalist, and the award ceremony will take place this year. This is the third function-oriented design to innovate the quick development cycle. This is a motion of the motor. Maybe you need to be a mechanical engineer to work on this. You might think like that, but on the web, you can pick a software, and very simply you can come up with a definition of the motor. That is what we are doing, and this is being manufactured and ready for commercialization at any moment. So that's why we shared with you. Mr. Miyashita, Mr. Watanabe's Meiji University's professor had already written these into a paper. So this is an inclusive design that we've been working on, focused on the individual preference and the taste, what they're looking for to buy and obtain. So we like to elicit the individual creativity for individuals, and we are working on the creative interaction. So it's interactive and offers a diverse range of options and selections, and robustness and the quickness is something that we are looking for. So naturally, we will elicit individuals' creativity and sensibility so that we can realize a fab global society, and we would like to pursue that further during our second phase. Thank you so much for your attention.